Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. I'm Jenny Robertson, one of the hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show, and I'm also the founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here today with Maria Johnson Darby, the COO of Keswick in Baltimore, and a woman with a mission. We'll be talking about being wise and well over 50. And I also encourage women under 50 to tune in, as well as women well past 50. First, because it's never too early to get started on this kind of stuff, and it's also never too late. So, welcome, Maria. I'm really excited to be with you today.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. It's fun to see you.
I know it's been, I think my meeting at Keswick was like might have been my last meeting I had live. I think it was actually in
Isn't that
March.
funny? Yeah,
In
it's
March.
great. I think it was like, I think we closed like a couple of days later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
great.
And you and I go back a number of years, and I have to say we've had more than one of those extended lunches where we talked about business and life.
It's so true. That's what I love when women gather, right? Because you think you're going to have a meeting about X, whatever the X is.
Yeah.
And then you learn so many more interesting things and you go off on a topic and you realize you have connections and common interests. And that's the best part about like having a network, right?
It absolutely is. But for those of you who are watching who have not had the privilege of knowing Maria Johnson Darby, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is a passionate strategic leader engaged in issues, efforts, and actions that make our community a healthier place to live, work, and play. Professionally, Maria is Keswick's COO, responsible for operations, which include the Wise and Well Center for Healthy Living. Born and raised in Baltimore, Maria is active on several local boards and is currently the president of the Maryland Women's Heritage Center. Maria is married and recently adopted a rescue dog named Rooney, who now runs the house. I do have to say, though, that when you say you're a member of several boards, is that what you said? How many really? Do you even know?
I try not to, I don't know. And I don't want to know. No, only a
Because
couple.
I know, but you've been on and off a lot of
Yes,
boards over the
yes.
years. But I always refer to you as, Maria knows everyone. Because I used to think I knew a lot of people, but there was a whole section of people I was missing that you have connected me with many of those. Kind of, I call them the downtown women, the
And
women
vice
who were,
versa. you
what was
know,
that? Oh,
and
yeah.
vice versa. I think that that's the best part about meeting new people and kind of connecting is that we all sort of have our circle, our
Mhm.
tribe, our connections. And the best is that women are so open to creating concentric circles, right? So to be able to have interlocking networks, which is, I think, a really fun and exciting way to live.
I do too. I do too. And there is so much we could talk about. We could do like a 6 hour interview, I'm sure. But I'd like to start with your passion for wellness. How did that all get started? And you also talk about your 50s being when you started to make these shifts, right?
Yep,
So, what
it's
was going
true.
on for you?
I think that, every decade there's sort of things that change in people's lives. And for me, the sort of connection of when Keswick decided that we wanted to help sort of support the wellness effort for those not living on our campus, sort of coincided with my own focus on thinking like, the healthier you enter every decade, the better your end game will be. And I think that that's part of the challenge that we all don't tend to think about is that you're well for now, right? You're feeling good, you're living well, you're doing the things you need to do. But wellness planning is the same thing as financial planning or anything else you do. You have to think about what that's going to look like as you age. And I've always had a weight issue myself for most of my life, and but I've always been that sort of healthy person
Mhm.
that weighed a little too much. And I recognize, though, that as I age, the likelihood of more things that, more comorbidities, things that might happen to you that you were able to handle when you were younger aren't necessarily going to be so easy to do as you get older. And so I decided that I've lost my body weight 170 times in my life, probably.
I know that one.
So I decided that I was going to give up on dieting and really focus on wellness, which is an entirely different mental place. It's one from being deprivation to abundance. And then how do you connect that sort of mental focus of how I'm going to make choices that make me well, as opposed to deprive myself of things that I enjoy. Right. And so if you start looking at that differently, it makes the decisions a little bit easier. And that's kind of how I sort of made the, started saying, okay, well, what's the next 50 years of my life going to look like?
Mhm.
Statistically, most of us that are at 50 or older, right, or 50, we're going to live to over 100 years old. Maybe not well, you might, just means you're going to be alive.
Right.
It doesn't
And
mean that you're
I don't want to live that way. I don't know about you. Yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of how I sort of got into that place of saying, what can I do to make changes now? Maybe I should have made them 20 years ago, but that can help me live a better life as I continue my journey.
Yeah. I so agree with that idea of deprivation because anytime I've really gone on like a strict diet, if you will, all I think about is what I'm going to eat and what I can't eat. Food becomes the centerpiece of my life.
Right.
Because when you're usually doing a strict diet, you have to plan food. And so it becomes just encompassing. And I think, this idea of abundance, oh, I get to eat this fruit. I get
Right.
to eat these great veggies, and
Right.
start to feel really good about it.
Doesn't that
Yeah,
feel differently? Just mentally, it feels
really does. It really
sort of
does.
saying, what can I choose as opposed to what I'm giving up? And, I was in a discussion with someone the other day, and she was saying that she has a big desire for ice cream. Like that's the way she's always ended her day. And when she was younger, that seemed to be fine. But now that she's getting a little older, it doesn't seem to sit so well. And so she said, I'm giving it up. And I said, well, what do you eat on your ice cream? And she said, I put strawberries and whatever else on it. So we started talking about, well, what if you just said, I'm going to choose to eat strawberries and whipped cream, and then not say I'm going to choose to give up ice cream and have no snack at the end of the night. Like
Right.
which feels better and which more are you more likely to stick with?
Mhm.
Like you're going to only give up if you're used to having a snack at the end of the night, you're going to have a snack at the end of the night and you're going to feel bad if you don't. But if you decide, oh, I'm going to have a snack, but my definition of snack is going to be different, then maybe, you don't feel so deprived and you feel more like you're in control of something positive instead of saying, oh, well, this is negative and I can't wait till I'm done with this.
Exactly. And then that's why we gain back the same 100 pounds every
Right.
time. Like you say, your body
Over,
weight 14 times, right?
right. Over and over and over again.
Yeah. And when I was in high school, when I was a senior, I had been sick for a bit. I was never really overweight. I weighed like 135 pounds. I was a curvy, but I got kind of sick and I got down to 115 pounds. And I remember still going to the beach and thinking I was too heavy for my bathing suit. But but I would it wasn't cool to eat lunch. We danced at lunchtime. We had a small gym where they had a jukebox and we could go and dance at lunchtime, which was the coolest thing. My lunch would consist of one of those little Cokes in a cup out of a machine and a 5-cent bag of Wise potato chips.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I ate every day. Not the healthiest thing, but it wasn't really, but we were dancing, we were moving.
Right.
And yet I don't think I could drink a Coke and eat potato chips every day now, or even in the last 30 years, and still feel okay
Right.
with it. So I asked you to send me some information, and one of the things I was really struck by is you had a number of things that you talked about that said what wellness is and what it isn't. I want to talk about a few of those. We've already talked about like wellness is not dieting because it's about abundance, not deprivation. Because I know for me it feels almost like critical parent or my inner brat will go, you can't make me eat that, or
Right.
I'll have this like internal battle with
Right.
myself.
I'm a grown up. I can do what
I'm
I
a
want.
grown
Right.
up. I can make my own choices. Thank you. But you mentioned something else, which I really like as well. And you said wellness is about saying yes to what feeds your soul and what brings you joy. And you said you want to embrace people and experiences that make your heart sing. And I think for some people who have had a more traditional life, maybe might not see that as wellness.
Mhm.
So, how has that worked in your life? And how did you come to that knowing that that's what mattered?
I think I always, for, probably up until my late 40s, I thought to myself, to be successful, which was really important to me, whatever way that looked like, I had to say yes to everything.
Mm.
I had to say yes to the committee, the board, the job, the friend, whatever. And I realized that all the things that I sort of started out loving started to feel like they were weighing on me in some way, and that was therefore infecting how I sort of was looking at the world. And then they became things I had to do as opposed to things I were choosing to do. And so I started saying, okay, well, that doesn't seem like a good way to be, right? And then I came across, and Keswick started doing work on this, like the dimensions of wellness that are not just about, we tend to focus on the health piece, which, and your physical health, which is obviously a big piece of it. but there's social and financial and spiritual and occupational, environmental. And when I started to think of wellness in a greater way, and somehow it seemed more manageable, not less manageable. You would think that if you have more components, it would feel harder, but it actually helps you say, well, I want it at this time in my life, I really want to focus on career. This time of my life, or, today, this week, this month, this, next 6 months, I want to focus on spiritual or financial. And I started looking, when I looked at those components, I found I was really out of whack, right? And I thought, this is partly what's causing me stress. And for me, stress is tied to other negative behaviors, not being able to get the physical exercise I need, not being able to have time to make, meals or choices that I'd like to do, not giving up time with my family, or et cetera. And I
Sleep.
said,
Sleep
this
is
doesn't
probably
work.
a big one, right?
Right, exactly. And so how do you sort of do that in a better way? And then when I started to say, well, I don't know if it was this conversation that you and I had, or in a similar way, that said, what are you saying yes to? And you have power over that. And does it feed your soul, whatever that looks like, and what feeds your soul today could feel different 6 months from now or a year from now. But how do you make those part of your overall wellness? Right? How do you think of it that way? And I started to say no to things. And, no, as a friend of mine said to me, no is a complete sentence. Like, it has to be, not have to be, no, Ginny, I can't do it because I have to do laundry and I have 6 other things to do. Because after I said no, you stopped really listening, right? Because you're like, okay, that's fine. No is no. And I realized that I was putting all of that pressure on myself to come up with, the reasons why, and and feeling bad about X, Y, or Z. And I thought, this is not a sensible way to live. Like, I'm not going to live to 60. I'm not going to live to 70 if I keep creating these stressful situations that I have all the power in creating, and I started saying, what really feeds my soul? What do I really want to do? What are issues I'm passionate about? What is the work that I want to do, that creates a paycheck for me? Like, where do I want to do that? And how do I want to live the next 20 years of my life, which assumingly I'm going to have to work unless I win the lottery. So what am I going to do for those things? And that just looking at that differently, and somehow turning 50 allowed me to do all those things. I just started saying, like, okay, well, I lived 8 years longer than my mother lived. My mother passed away when she was 42. And I said to myself, so I passed that barrier, right? So I passed that moment. So how am I what choices I'm going to make for the next 20 years? And that if I don't start making different choices, I am by default making a choice. And how do I do that?
That's so true. And I think what you talk about is really, you're every woman. We've all hit those places. Some people aren't conscious that they've hit them and they just keep on doing what they're doing. And I believe that eventually the universe, whatever you want to call it, is going to whack us on the head and take our breath away. Not necessarily through death, but through just, an illness. We're going to get knocked off our balance. We're going to have to pay attention to something. And I think a lot of what you're talking about too, because you also bring up this idea of balance. And it's one of my favorite topics, because I have been saying for years that balance is a myth, that there is no such thing. And I think all this focus on women's balanced lives has harmed women. And I love what you said, because you talk about, I'm going to concentrate on this now. And I made a really conscious decision a number of years ago, probably about 15 years ago, that I was going to spend the summer focusing on my business. I sat down with my husband. I had a conversation. This means I won't be doing this, 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 this. And I was totally out of wacky balance, but I had chosen it and I was conscious of it. So therefore I was not reacting to things.
Well, didn't you enjoy it more because you
I
felt
absolutely did.
right? You planned for
did.
it. You made the choice. You had the discussions with your husband and those around you that made a difference. And you said, this is important to me now. I'm going to give up these other things potentially for the short term, not forever, but for the short term. I think that I went years ago, I went to one of these networking things, and one of the speakers said, women can have it all. You just can't have it all at one time.
I love that.
That made the sense of balance, the illusion of balance, I didn't really embrace it then because I'm like, yeah, well, that because you're like the CEO of a business. Like, of course you can say that, right? But what I've realized is that that is true. It's impossible to have it all the time. And that creates its own sense of stress for us. We have to be able to say, this is the most important right now. And I'm going to work on this piece and I'm going to say yes to that. And I'm going to say no to other things and actively say no, not just feel guilty about not doing it the fullest way that you could have or feel. And I think that that is such a key to wellness. I really believe that that ability to say, these are the things that are important to me now. This is how I'm going to rank it in terms of my priorities with my family, my work, etc., makes the moment so much more enjoyable because you have said it didn't just happen to you.
Right.
You made conscious choices. And I think whenever we decide that, we're in a better place. And those around us are happier. I'm sure your husband probably thought, well, okay, so I get it. Like we've agreed to this. This is what Ginny's going to do. And so therefore he sees you happy. He doesn't feel like you're not choosing him by default. You've made a decision about this is how this is going to play out for the next, X amount of time.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think what it also does is it keeps us out of resentment for what we are doing because, boy, that saying yes to everything, eventually we start to get kind of pissed off. And it doesn't always come back at us right away. We start angry at those other people for even asking us to do it rather than, wow, I'm a grown up here. I get to make these choices. And sometimes it's really hard because it depends on what's driving us. Are we driven by compliments and are we driven by people saying, oh, I remember years ago, I'll jump over there real quick. Someone said to me, Jenny, I think you do a real disservice to women. Of course, that like broke my heart. I thought, what are you talking about, me? She
That's
goes,
the heart of you, right?
I know. She said, you make this all look so easy. You do so much and you make it look easy. And after getting over my initial feeling of I did something wrong, I said, you know why? Because it is easy for me, because I'm choosing to do those things that feed me and that I can do with ease and grace. It's not everyone's to do. I
Right.
said, I don't teach math, and so I think we also have to not compare ourselves to how other people are doing their life because we will often fall short. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's easy to say, oh, look at Ginny. She's doing these amazing things. She goes away for a summer and she does, runs this amazing talk show and she has this great online community. But there are other things that you've chosen not to do by doing those things. And if I compare myself to that, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe that's not what, even if I did that, wouldn't be necessarily my choice. And would it therefore feel like a gift or would it feel like I have to?
Right.
What feels like a passion place for you is if I had to do it, might not be the passion place for me. I could sort of think and be inspired by it, which, in terms of what other people's choices are, but we have to make sure that the choices are that we're making feed us in some way. This sense of self-care, which has become like the word of the day, right, is such a thing. But it is really true that you can, and I think women struggle with this more, if you don't feed yourself in whatever way that is, at some point, as you said, you'll hit a wall. And in wellness, we say, if you don't make time for wellness, you're going to be making time for sickness
Oh, yeah.
because you don't get to choose that, right? It just happens to you. And figuring out where those things lie for you allows us to say, okay, today I'm actively not choosing that I'm going to go for a big walk because I'm going to choose to, I don't know, have dinner with my husband instead when I get home. But I know then tomorrow, if I want to stay on the path I've chosen for myself, then I have to maybe walk a little bit longer or make the dog make the dog walk a little bit longer with me, so that we can still reach our ultimate goals. And I think that I know for me as a person, I'm a little bit of a people pleaser and I, don't want to disappoint somebody else by saying no or not doing the thing they want me to do. And what I've realized is most people really actually aren't that disappointed. I mean, they might be sad in the moment that they wanted you to do something, but we put more of that on ourselves than really feels like for the other person. I've asked people to do things and they say no, and I'm like, okay, I don't really.
I know, but we don't give ourselves that same grace, do we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the 50s, like, it's I remember my a friend of my mom's that lived next door to us that said to me, she was older, much older at the time. She was like 50 when my mom was like 30 and I was younger. And I thought, and she would say, "Oh, these are the best years of your life." And I always thought, okay, yeah, that doesn't look like that to me, because I thought, well, you're old.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now I realize that what it really means is that whether you do it when you're 30 or 40 or 60 or 100, she was just saying yes to the things that made her happy,
Mhm.
which may or may not be the things that make me happy. And that overall creates a sense of wholeness and wellness. And your journey is going to look different from everyone else's. And that's the benefit of the experience. It's about learning how to enjoy the moments along the road, not just the end game, which for me has been the hardest. Like, I really am all about the end game. A very driven person. I'm like, here's my goal. When I'll achieve it, it'll be great. I've gone to Weight Watchers before, and that woman, she cheers when you lose a pound. And I'm like, lady, I might have just drank, like not had a glass of water before I came in. But, I've learned to realize that if you don't celebrate the little things, the big things are they take so much more. And so you're going to lose stamina if you only wait for the big things, right? If you wait for the 25-pound marker and never celebrate the in piece, or you wait till you can run 25 miles and don't celebrate that you can run 5 miles, or whatever your thing is, you're excited about joining a committee, but your ultimate goal was to be on the board, then you don't really enjoy the committee experience that you're doing. So I don't know. I just think I wish I'd figured that out earlier, to be honest. I wish I had figured it out earlier.
And what you're really saying there, it's all about being in the moment
Yeah.
instead of being in the past. And I have done workshops in the past I've done one called Joy. It's an inside job. And I talk about how, joy cannot coexist with worry or with regret, because they're both future or past. And you can't be in the moment and have joy if you're back there regretting something or looking ahead worrying, or if you're just stressed out. And I know you talked about wanting to have more joy in your life, but I want to go to your job for a minute, because you say that your work is one of those things in your life, but not all of those things. And you just got a promotion, and you were already busy, really busy. I know. How are you using this newfound awareness to not just make yourself crazy with all these new responsibilities you have?
It's so interesting. I realize that I'm a person that has to say yes to the next thing before I can give up the other thing, and I realize that in this role as the COO, I can't do some of the things that are sort of more hands-on, right? But I couldn't give them up until I had a broader perspective. And so I think that I recognize in this role, but in all probably earlier than this, I should have recognized that being a leader is not just about supporting others and making sure that they have what they need and getting all the work done. That's clearly a part of it, right? That's how you get to the next level. But it's also about demonstrating the behaviors that you want to see, that you want your staff to have. Like, I can tell people they should take their vacation and they should not work 20 hours a day and don't answer emails at midnight. But if I do all of those things, what I'm really saying is, in order to ascend the ladder, of success, at least professionally, you have to do all these things. Like, that's the subliminal message I'm sending. If your boss is responding to you at midnight, your boss is sending emails at midnight and working 20 hours a day and working every weekend, if you are someplace else in the organization, you're thinking, well, if I want to get to the next level, that's the expectation that there is of me. And I'm recognizing that doesn't make sense. And so that I have a responsibility to figure out how to help people really make the choices they want by demonstrating those choices myself.
Wow.
And I also realize I'm better at work when I am not here 10 hours every day. Like, I am a better person. I'm a better manager. I'm a better leader. I'm a better wife. I'm a better friend when I create stop points along the way. And I've just learned how to do that. And really, it's because I'm surrounded right now at the Wise and Well Center with all kinds of incredible women, both the staff team here, as well as the men and women that are engaged in the center. Because, it's for people 50 plus who are saying, these are lessons I've learned, Maria. Like, this is what you need to, this is the sharing that they give to me. I really have embraced and said, if I'm going to lead the organization in an effective manner, I have to walk the walk. I can't just say this is what you should do, this is how you should live. I have to be able to sort of feel like I'm at peace. That's important to me, to feel like I am doing what I'm asking other people to make choices to do. And it's crazy. It's not easy. I would definitely tell you that I haven't mastered it. I'm a work in progress, but
Aren't we all?
it's when I say yes to other things that I feel like, um, I can make different choices. Like I said to my husband's working from home now because he's in his job allows him to still to be at home because of the work he does, in this COVID crazy land. So I really want to be home with him when in a more normal hour, because he doesn't get home at 7 o'clock anymore. So because he doesn't have the commute. So that's a different choice for me. And now we have this cute dog who
Mm-hmm.
really wants to see me at home too, and I want to be there. And although it's funny, this isn't brain surgery, right? None of this is things that like you're thinking, oh my God, this is the most earth-shattering piece of information I've ever had. But when you start to figure out how you can embrace it in your life, and that part of your responsibility is to help model that, particularly if you're in a leadership role of any kind, then it starts to seem like part of your work, which for me allows it to be easier to do. That's probably crazy in the way that I think about it, but it does make it easier for me.
Oh, it's not crazy at all. I was actually, while you were talking, was sitting here thinking that someone who leads in that way, like you're doing, is what shifts the corporate culture everywhere, not just where you are,
Mhm.
because we can't continue the way we've been. And I think people working from home and having to adjust so many other things during this crazy time, I think some of that's going to shift. I think some of that is going to stay. Maybe, because I have a friend who got a new job and she wanted to see work part of it from home. Oh, no, no, you can't. That job can't be done from home. She's doing it 40 hours a week now from home. And she's like, well, they don't have to convince me now why it can't be done at home when we go back to work, at least
It's
probably
true. Isn't
part of
that
it.
interesting? That is what they're saying, that all these
Uh-huh.
jobs, they said no one could ever do from home. Everyone had to be in the workplace. Amazing how we're able to do a lot of them from home now.
Mhm.
But I have concern for what pressure that puts on women too, because I think
Oh,
that, women are still, if both the partners are working at home, I think women are, feel a lot of times, whether their partner would or wouldn't step up, I think we feel like because I'm now in my home and my children might be going to school here, and that I still have to do all of those jobs that might have been historically mine, when it really just matters of conversation with your partner saying, this can't happen. We have to share this time because you're working, I'm working, we have to all share the space. But I think I get concerned that women, I see it around friends of mine that are doing that, that
plus,
are
plus teaching their children.
which I have to be honest, I don't have children of my own, and there have been times when I'm like, oh, I wish I had had children. But at this time right now, I am feeling like that I am so in awe of people that are not just having to make sure their children go to school, quote unquote, online, but actually have to teach it, and support that. I'm not sure I could do
Yeah.
that.
Just as an aside, CBS Sunday Morning. Did you happen to see that? By the
I
way,
did.
this past Sunday they did one of their segments was on single women in particular, single mothers, and how they were dealing with this, and how some of them had been let go from their positions. One woman's boss had actually said, I don't want to hear your child when you're on a conference call. He's
That's just
one.
great.
He's
That's
one,
just,
so yeah. And so I think, it all ties into what we're talking about, because unfortunately not everyone has the um, the choices they can make to find the corporate culture that supports them. It doesn't mean they shouldn't start looking. It doesn't
right.
mean they can't aspire to that, but not everyone can just walk away and go, well, I'm done here, kind of like I did a number of years ago. But let's talk for a minute about this idea that in your 50s, this is what you told me, you're leaning in to the woman you are and the woman you are becoming. And for you, that is really what wellness is all about.
It
What does
is.
that feel like, leaning into the woman you are?
I used to sort of feel like I was always at odds with, something. My hair was too curly. I didn't like it and I wanted straight hair. I was too short. I was chubby. I didn't like all those things started to feel, I would say like those are negative experiences for me. And in my 50s, I said to myself, you know what? This is who I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to try to improve certain things. It doesn't mean that I'm going to not, see that there are things I need to improve, but I'm also not going to approach every experience of, oh, this is the negative experiences I'm in, and I can't do anything about them, or I'm overwhelmed by them. I try to celebrate all the really great things that I have about myself. I'm smart. I have a really amazing tribe of friends and family and colleagues that surround me. I love what I do. I get to meet a lot of people. I think I'm a good friend and a good family member and a good colleague. And I love a lot. I have a great sense of humor. I've started to really embrace all the things that make me wonderful and special and fabulous, and not in denial of the other things, but recognizing that those are parts of that I can control and I can make choices about, and there are parts of that I can't. And I am going to own both of those sides of that, and then just enjoy this time, because here's what I've learned. And, we've all learned it, particularly in COVID, is that life can be very short.
Mhm.
We don't know what that looks like for any of us, and that can be your job is not guaranteed to you. Your life experience isn't guaranteed to you. Your life itself is not guaranteed to you. And how do you make every day the best day? And, it sounds sort of Pollyanna-ish, but if we at least try to approach even 70% of the days like that, right? Or even 50%, how much better would we all have in terms of our experience? But more importantly, if I gave people the latitude in my life to also be that way,
Yeah.
right? If I didn't say, Ginny, I don't want to hear your child behind you, or I don't want to see your dog in the photo, or whatever. If I didn't get so, kind of crazy anal about that stuff, wouldn't the conversation that you're having with the person mean so much more? Wouldn't the choices that you were making mean so much more? Wouldn't it feel better when you said yes to that board or committee or that speaking engagement or whatever it is that's important to you? And I love being 55. Well, I'm not 55, 53. I'm 53 and I love it. I'm okay with it. I'm like, every day is a great gift. My grandmother used to say something I didn't understand when I was young. She used to say, every day this side of the dirt is a good day. And so I was like, what does that mean, Grandma? But now I really realize that, like, a good day or a bad day is still a day that you've had, that you get to enjoy, experience, and that the challenges, the things that might not have gone as well, help you become the you that you are. It gives you that experience well, I'm not going down that road again. That did not leave me in a good place. I've seen this play out, and it helps you say yes to things that are really important to you. And for me, like, leaning into all that's great is so much better than focusing on all the things that are not great, right? Because that list can be long, especially if you're a woman. I feel like you can make a list that is so long, and women have a hard time saying all the great things and really focus on how can I improve. And I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I can see all the great things in you so easily. I could give you a list of 50 things that make Ginny Robertson amazing, but to sit down and say 50 great things about myself would be so much harder. And I want to try to get to a better balance of that, where it's as easy for me to find 50 great things about myself as it is to find 50 great things about you. And I think if we all approach that in some way that works, how much better will the whole world be, not just our own lives?
And I love that you actually did that a little bit ago. You talked about all these fabulous things about me that make me just amazing. And I want more women to feel good doing that, to toot our own horns, to do that bragging thing. So many of us heard these words growing up that didn't support that. And I think it's really important for us as women to see other women who are proud of who they are, proud of what they can do, proud of how they be in the world. That it's not just about the number. I used to want to be on more boards because I thought, well, if I'm on more boards, they'll pick me to be one of Maryland's top 100 women, that kind of thing. And I went, but I don't want to be on boards.
Right.
I don't want to be on boards just for the sake of boards. I want to be on a board of something that calls to me, I'm passionate about. And so there's just all that outside pressure. And I love that you have come to this understanding for yourself, because you're going to be able to impact a whole lot of people by being that role model and being that wise person as you move into your 60s and 70s, that that wise elder that's way down the road, of course. Like that's like, since I'm going to be 69 in a couple of weeks, the wise elder, I think, is still probably a couple of decades away. Maybe mid 80s, I'll be the wise elder, because right
There
now
you go.
I'm
Well,
still
since you're going to live to over 100, you'll have plenty of years.
I'll have at least a decade to be a wise elder if I start at 90. So, anything else you want to add? We're going to talk about the Wise and Well Center in a minute, but how else are the 50s going for you? Or any other sage pieces of advice for anyone listening?
I have to say, like, the other thing that I love about being 50 is that I've tried to really expand my networks into things that are not just professional networks, right? So it's part of the reason that when I became part of your group was because I wanted to meet women that I might not meet otherwise, people that were following their dreams and doing interesting and new things. It was sort of the same thing when I joined the Maryland Women's Heritage Center board. Their whole focus is about telling women's stories, and not just the really famous, amazing women like Harriet Tubman, but all the unsung heroes along the way. And I met all these women who are probably not going to be on, the top 100 women list, et cetera, but did amazing work to really get women's rights to the place that they are. And I thought to myself, wow, like, how can I not know these women? How did I not know their names? All of these, so the founders of the center, Jill Moss Greenberg, like all these people and I thought, my network is not really as big as I think it is, right? My circle is really tied to professional connections and social, but not the sort of mix right in the middle. And I think that stepping outside your box, whatever that is, if it's to figure out a new activity that you might meet some new people in, or, try something in a different area, or go to a different community that you aren't part of. And it's just hard. I'm an outgoing person, and it's still hard to not know a person in the room when you walk in the door. But if you can the experiences that I've met, like some of the ladies that I've met through your group, would never have met before. Like, I just wouldn't have. We have no reason to have crossed paths. And I've become really enamored by not only what they've done with their life, but some of the stories they've told that sort of resonate, and, and some friendships that have been built. And then also, it's amazing the connections that you find that might allow our work to to interconnect in some ways. And I just think that's really empowering. And I think that we get more closed as we get older. You start saying, well, I barely get to see the friends that I have, or the people that I know. But I think that we should push ourselves to try to explore new avenues, because that tells us something about ourselves, right? We learn to see things in ourselves, and maybe talents or skills or that we wouldn't have had before. And I feel like that's what my 50s are all about. I'm saying yes to all the things that make me happy, and I'm saying no to things that don't make me unhappy, but I've been there, done that.
Right? You're just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, done it. It's fine. Like, it's
Yeah.
great, but it's not going to teach me something new. It's not going to, it's not going to push me outside my comfort zone. And I want to be able to do that. Like, I want to, if I'm going to be living to another 50 years, I don't want to live the same 50 for the next 50, and I think that that's about,
I think that's a poster. I want, yeah.
like it. That could be my rags to riches story, right? My poster that's going to be trademarked.
There you go. There you go. Well, I want to talk briefly about the Wise and Well Center. While it is located in Baltimore, you're also doing a lot of online things. So anybody listening could take part in some of your activities, right?
It's so true. We made this big pivot immediately when COVID hit. We had to make a decision about how we were going to continue to serve our members. But the good thing, I try to look at the good things that came out of COVID, is that we've been able to create offerings for people that might never have come to the center because it wasn't conveniently located, or, for whatever reason. And I think that that's been so wonderful to be able to expand the number of people that are not only enabled to engage with us, but with each other and try new things, whether it's Tai Chi, or, we had some classes where folks talked about their trips that they had taken, and sort of we learned to explore the world through the eyes of others. We've done some other kinds of physical activity things. We've done an amazing array of art programming that most folks would have said, well, I might not have signed up for that, and made a trip into the center to do. I have an hour to kill, I can watch this and learn from it. And that's been really incredible. And we had some members that, we opened in September for folks to be able to come back to the center. So we're doing a combination of online and in-person classes. And our members have coming back saying, Oh my goodness. I am so thrilled to be able to engage when I feel safe and I'm feeling comfortable doing that. But I also like that there's some classes that I'm okay taking it home. And that's a great place for me to do that because I can either engage, longer, or I might be able to try something that is allows me to kind of balance how much time I'm in a group versus, kind of where I am at home. And that's been really fun. I've never been so excited to see people as I have been thrilled to
Oh,
have
the
back
bed.
center.
So you're going to continue a lot of the online stuff, though, even when you're back to full.
We are.
So
Actually,
good,
we've made
good.
an investment. We're actually upgrading all of the technology in our space so that we can do it in a more effective way so that it's hybrid. Like we can certainly do in person and we can do online, but there's a different set of technology you have when you're doing a hybrid. So I have people in front of me as well as online so that neither of the group feels excluded. And
Right,
so we're working on that right now. We're hoping to have that in place by Thanksgiving. So
right.
very
And
exciting.
just tell everybody what's it cost to join a year.
$60. So,
$60. And some of the things are free. Once you join, you can just do some things for
absolutely.
free. There's some things that you pay less for because you paid the $60. So what's the website? Tell everybody the
It's
website.
chooseskeswick.org and then /community health. And it has all of the details. I say $60 to invest in yourself, to explore it, to try it, to see what might work for you. Pushes you outside your box a little. I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't cost prohibitive to make people feel like, oh, I have to really know I want to do this before I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars. We wanted people to say, I'm going to try this out and see how it goes. And maybe meet a few people that look and feel and experience things differently than me. And but we have a commonality in that we're 50 plus. We're able to say this is what it's like to be at this part of our lives. We
Yeah.
have people that are 50 to over 100 that are members of the center right now.
Well, in fact, Francina came to, I wasn't there yesterday, but she came to our Connections Through Conversation online meeting. And she's
That's so
like
great.
80 something, right?
She's great. And
I
she
met her through you. Yeah.
the whole life before here that I didn't know about.
Mhm.
And I've known her for a while here, but when we were in your group, she was talking about the fact that she was in design before. I had no idea.
Yeah.
We often know people in the moment we see them and we don't take time to learn the backstory. That's how I first met you. Like I knew you when you were presenting and your business was all, kind of, happening. And until one of the, I attended one of your sessions where you talked about how you made different choices to get where you are, that I learned a whole other side of Ginny that I didn't know
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. And who knows? Well, we might hear that one thing that we need to make a shift ourselves. So thank you. This has been so great. I knew it would be. I knew we could probably like keep talking forever and ever, but I do want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for joining us for the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community on Facebook. For a list of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show topics, you can go to onpurposewomanmagazine.com and you can look for that. It's in the table of contents. I have another interview coming up this Thursday with Julia Mattis, who has been a successful real estate agent for 31 years. We'll be talking about lessons that she's learned from 31 years in business. And I will say that whatever your business is, a lot of these lessons are crossover, doesn't matter what the industry is. So join us for that this Thursday at 2 o'clock right here in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Group. And if you love this interview and you want to share it with your friends, you'll find it on our YouTube channel within the next 48 hours. And that is the On Purpose Woman Global Community YouTube channel. Please go over, please subscribe. We're a baby channel. We want some more subscribers. There's already at least 28 great interviews for you to watch over there, all from inspiring women, many doing their own thing, but with all kinds of wisdom to impart to all of you. You also, let's see, what else do I have going on? I think that's it right now. So I think I've got two more interviews this session. We'll be bringing up some more interviews for the November, December volume of On Purpose Woman magazine. We tie those in. And I do want to say though, Maria, that we'll be doing over the course of the year 6 interviews with either you or with a representative of the Wise and Well Center talking about those pillars, I think. Are they pillars that you
Yep,
said?
the
Of
pillars. Yep.
wellness. So yes, so stay tuned to that. We don't know when the next one's going to be yet, but you want to look for that. And if you subscribe, you won't miss any of them. So thank you again. I'm Jenny Robertson with the On Purpose Woman Global Community, and I really appreciate you all being here.
Thanks, Ginny.
Thank you, Maria.